So, going to start this morning sitting on the floor. You can be in really much any position you like that's comfortable to you. I'm just going to use the Sukhasana proposition this morning and let myself have a little wriggle around, get the sitting bones down onto the block nicely, let the hips open out a touch. Lengthen the spine up, roll the shoulders back. And then we're just going to drop the chin in towards the chest and fit some half neck circles. So I'm going to draw over to the left shoulder, just lifting the head to look directly out to the side, and then exhale back down. Inhale to the opposite side. So just working through those neck muscles. We are getting a little bit of opening and compression in the discs, but it's not super active in that area. Hopefully the neck isn't creaking and cracking too much. Just get a nice little groove going on. And we'll come back into the center. Take the arms out nice and wide, and we'll just take a surface stretch. So bring the right arm across, lock under the left arm, and then draw the shoulder blade round. Breathe into the back of the shoulder blade. Feel the separation as you breathe in. And release that out. We'll take it across to the other side. And release from there as well. We'll take that into some twists. So it's going to move to the left. Take a breath in. And cross over as we exhale to the right. Take the breath in when you're ready. And cross over on the exhale. And this time come back into the center. Untangle the legs, give them a little shake out, roll the ankles around a couple of times, and then we'll move on to the fours. So I'm going to keep the block close to the front end of the mat. And bring myself onto all fours, just spread the fingers out, take a little stretch through the hands. First of all, wake them up. Knees underneath the hips, or rock through the hips from side to side, and the shoulders up a little bit, rolling from side to side. And then we're going to take that into cat-cow. So just drawing the chest forwards and tilting the pelvis down, and feeling the spine ripple towards the sky as we press a little more into the hands and the shins. And we'll just take it into a child's pose. So we can take the knees a little wider and allow yourself to ease down. See if you can get head to the floor, heels to the buttocks. Stretch the fingers out as far as you can, keeping them nice and wide, a little wider than the shoulders. That's on where we feel the breath moving. What's opening up, what feels maybe a little tighter. And then we'll look again towards the front of the mat. Lift ourselves up, back onto all fours. Just bring the hands back underneath the shoulders. And we're going to take the right foot back and slide that out. Left hand comes forwards. Press into the shin. Get a little bit of lift in that foot away from the floor on the right side. Toes down. Hips nice and square. Bring that down, move that across to the other side. Keeping the abdominals drawn in. And bring the hands back down to the floor, knees to the floor. Going to move into a plank. So both legs go back. I'm going to deliberately have the hips as high as the shoulders, pressing out through straight legs and the heels. And then I'm going to tilt the tailbone up towards the sky. So you stay in position. You literally roll the tailbone up towards the sky as far as you comfortably can, which is, you know, half an inch to an inch. And then you're going to tilt the pelvis back down the same way and get the abdominals to engage. Lift up as you inhale. Exhale, draw the belly in, tailbone down. Pull the spine round a little bit more. Inhale up. Exhale it down. 2 more. Last one. And then bring the knees back down to the floor. And take the right arm up to the sky on the breath in. And fold that under, thread that through, shoulder ear to the ground. And letting the eyes follow where the face is pointing, which may be directly to the side or more towards the sky. And try and roll the left shoulder over to the right side a little bit. And then we'll press down into the ground as we exhale. Lifting up, we'll take the breath in to lift the left arm and fold that under. And bring ourselves down into the second side. And just try and roll that right shoulder a little more over to the left side. Press into the shins a little bit so you start to feel the ankles opening out. And then we'll press into the hands to lift up from there. Back onto all fours, tuck the toes underneath, and we're into down dog. And just walking the legs out a little bit. See how the ankles feel. I'm going to walk about halfway down the mat. It's just pedaling the legs out, lifting the hips up. We're trying to keep the spine as long as flat as we can. Just rolling ourselves in. And then when you get to the point where the heels are flat to the floor, see if you can take that block and just place it behind the back of the heels. Lift the feet up onto the corner edges, turn the toes out, and let yourself squat down. See how that feels. Nice deep squat. Just let the arms sit on top of the knees so that the chest is nice and open. Can relax the shoulders a little bit. If you feel intimidated at all and you feel more confident with your fingertips on the floor leaning in, that's not a problem. Sometimes if the ankles don't feel like they're ready to sit into this position, your back is tight, it's going to push you forwards, and therefore you're going to want to keep your fingers on the floor just to make sure that you don't stumble. I'm going to take a little breath from here, draw the belly in, and then on the exhale, we'll just take the arms out wide and lift ourselves up. So the hands towards the sky, above our head, palms in, and through the heart. Squat back down again. Relatively slow. Floating the arms up again as we lift up. And towards the heart. Squat back down. Inhaling up. Exhaling through. Inhaling. And we'll take one more after this. And this time as the hands come in towards the heart, we'll just lift the heels off. Parallel the feet, hinge forwards, find that block, take it forwards underneath the shoulders a little ahead, and then let the chest lengthen forwards. So you got a nice flat back, legs are straight. We can press down into the feet very evenly, so there's the same amount of effort going through the toes as there is the heels. Thighs are squeezing in a little bit. Belly is drawing in. You should be able to feel the front thighs muscles lifting up. And then we'll release. Folding down. Just move the block out to the front of the mat, keeping it on in. Hands onto the shins and then lift up halfway. Fold down. Onto the shins. Down. Onto the shins. And folding down. And take a little breath from there, stepping back into a down dog. And taking the right leg to the sky with scissor. Come into a three-legged plank. Lift ourselves back into that down dog. Bring the foot to the floor. Left leg scissors. We keep the hips and shoulders square to the ground. We come forwards. Inhale. Exhale it back. Foot to the floor. Take the right leg high. Scissor. Come forwards. And back. Drop the leg slow. Lift the opposite leg high. Come forwards. And back. And we'll do one more time to each side. And we'll let ourselves walk the hands towards the toes. And then bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees, and let ourselves lift up. We're going to take that block, high-end landscape base away from me, down the center line of the mat. Have the feet about hip distance apart. Inhale high. Bring hands in towards the heart and soften the knees over the toes. And take a little breath, take the weight into the left foot. Lift up. I'm going to keep the big toe on the floor. Slide that back into lunge. Allow myself to drop the heel down. Open up into a warrior two. And as you probably noticed, I put my hand down because I lost my balance a little bit. The idea was to try and do that without a hand on the floor. Maybe the second side. I'm going to turn the palm on the front hand, take that into reverse warrior. I'm going to wrap the rear hand around the body towards the front side. Extend the top arm up over to the back of the mat. Keep the front knee over the ankle. And make sure that the back leg is actively pressing down. It's very easy for the back of the knee to get a bit sloppy. And we're not working through it. This really means we're sitting in joints of the groin. We want to work into the legs, activate them so that they're actually looking after and protecting the groin and not just sitting into the joints. We'll come back into warrior two. We're going to lengthen out into extended side angle. We're going to find the block, bring that underneath. So you press the heel of your hand down and take the top arm up towards the sky. So you got a little bit of opportunity to put some weight down through your wrist, through your hand into the block. It's not the biggest contact point with the ground. So it's still a little bit wobbly underneath. What we are trying to do is turn what is now my right shoulder over towards the left side of the mat, and I'm bracing my front knee and front arm lower down together. Still pressing down in the back leg to get those muscles to feel like they're engaging around the kneecap. Okay, going to take the top arm up on the O and now extend that directly out towards the front of the mat. And on the next exhalation, we'll turn the hands down to the floor. Move the block out of the way. I'm going to take a scissor leg, left leg lift down dog. Bring that foot back down to the floor. Draw the right knee in towards the body. Into lunge. Take a little breath. Press off the toes into forward fold. Hands onto the hips and a lift. Inhale high. Hands in towards the heart. Soften the knees over the toes. Take the weight into the right leg. Just on the tippy toe on that left foot. Slide it back into the lunge. Drop the heel in. Open up into your warrior two. Then we'll turn the palm on the front hand. The rear hand comes around. And we'll start to extend out. And back into our warrior two. Extend forwards again. Find the break. Bring it into place. Top arm up towards the sky. Remember the front leg and arm just bracing against each other gently. Rolling that top shoulder back. Back leg pressing down. Turn the palm on top up. Extend that out towards the front of the mat. So looking for a parallel line to the floor. Still trying to draw that left shoulder over to the right side. One more breath. Exhale the hand down to the floor. Move that brick out to the front of the mat. Step back into three-legged scissor. The right leg lifts. Foot comes down to the floor. Left knee comes in. Lunge. Take a little breath. And on the exhale, stepping into the forward fold. Hands onto the hips. And nice easy lift. Inhale high. Hands through the heart. We'll step back into the middle mat area. Bring the toes together for tree pose. So just finding your focal point, something to keep your eyes on. We'll shift the weight into the left leg to start with. Bring the heel ankle together on the right side. Take a little breath. Foot comes onto the shin calf first. See how that feels. If we feel confident in the standing leg and the foot, bring the heel up into the groin. Check the trousers feel comfortable with that. And then we'll see if we can take the hands out nice and wide into that Y shape. And we'll release. And we'll cross over to the other leg. So just shifting the weight. Hands into the heart. Heel ankle, toe out to the side. Again, foot to the shaft. Sorry, shin and the calf. Make sure I amalgamate those two together. And then if that feels good, you can bring the foot higher to the top of the groin, press it in. Getting that little bit of traction or friction between the foot and the thigh to keep it in place. And then coming into that Y shape. Shoulders if we can. And then we'll release from there. Bring the foot down, shake out both legs. Going to come back to the front of the mat again. Bring the feet parallel, hands into the heart. Exhale into a forward fold. Take the block now and place that behind the heels again. Lift the heels onto the block, turning the toes out. And we're back into the squat, which I'm sure you're very happy about. Now this time we're going to keep the fingertips on the floor. I'm going to walk my left hand out to the side. I'm going to keep the arm and the leg braced against each other. Lean forwards a little bit, so I start to get a little bit of a side bend as I bring the left palm to the floor. So you want to be reaching out enough for that to happen. Turn the chest open on the right side and then extend the hand out. So it's an open twist. A little bit of a side bend. And we're trying to keep this right knee as far out to the side as we can. Bracing the arm and the leg on the other side. You can use that little bit of bracing to start to sort of engage the core muscles a little bit more as well. So that not only have you got the twist, but you've got that little bit of resistance to work into to press and engage through the core. And then we'll bring that hand down. There's a momentary sort of resetting into the center, and then we're taking the right hand out. Get that little little bit of flex over to the side. That arm and leg, you can see a little bit easier this time, pressing into each other. Rotate the body first to the left and then extend the arm out. So it's much easier on the shoulder joint when you do that, and the muscles in the deltoids through the back of the neck as well. And you want to keep them soft as you extend out so you can breathe easily. Remember that little bit of pressure in the arm and the leg to help turn on the abdominals. You draw the belly in a little bit. It's more of a breathing into the side ribs opportunity. And then we bring those hands down as well. Again, we come into that momentary release. Bring the hands flat to the floor. I'm just going to lift the heels off the ground a touch and then take my bottom up towards the sky as I set the feet parallel again. Move the block out to the side, step back into my down dog, and I'm going to move gently into child's pose. I'm going to take the knees deliberately wide again and sit back onto the heels and lengthen the body out and see if that feels different to the child's pose that we began with. Hopefully the hips and the spine and the shoulders feel a little more open, a little more warmed up. And we can take a last breath here. Lift the head, look towards the front of the mat. Ease the hands in a little bit. We're going to come down to the floor. So I'm going to bring my bottom down to the ground, swing the feet through, take the hands behind for a little bit of support, knees high, chin towards the chest, so roll down with control. And then once I've arrived, I could bring the heels in towards my bottom. I'll draw the right knee in towards my chest, take the hands around the shin. Let that knee move in towards the armpit a little bit. And then once that feels like it's gone as far as it's going to go, after a couple of breaths, I'm going to slide the left heel out straight down the mat and get that big stretch into that front hip flexor on the left side as I flex my toes towards the sky and press out through the heel. Trying to get the calf to make contact with the ground beneath it. Slide that left heel back in, release the right leg, the center, left leg in. Again, just taking a few breaths here to let the knee travel out. Not really pulling it, just kind of encouraging it to go where it can. And then when you feel settled, the right leg lengthens out, toes to the sky, calf down. And then again, we'll release, bring both heels in towards the bottom. Now, take the arms out wide, palms facing up. Going to draw the belly button down towards the spine and then the lower back into the ground. So you're going to feel your lower back and the bottom of your ribs press into the ground a little bit. And basically all these muscles here are going to feel like they're tight, they're fired up and engaged, and we could actually just stay there. Actually, feel that quite an effect from that. But we're going to lift the knees above the hips and then extend the shins out in line with the floor. So we're going to do our best to keep the sensation of the entire back pressing into the ground and drawing it down as if we're adding an extra 50 pounds of weight onto our body. We're going to keep the bend in the knees roughly the same, and then we're going to just toe tap the right foot to the floor, bring it back slowly, and then take the other leg down, tap, and come back up. Not too worried about the 90-degree being absolute. What we are trying to do is work at a speed that is very slow, so we can focus on this extra weight through the torso, pinning us down to the ground. The core muscles, you feel right into the sort of the outer edges of the abdominis muscles working, starting to maybe even fire up serratus anterior a little bit as well on the lats. So it's the speed that we work at. If you just bounce the legs down and around, you won't be able to get the connection feeling very easily into the body. And that's the bit we're focusing on. The leg movement is really a secondary thing. What we're trying to do is get the hip flexors to work, keep the pelvis in exactly the same position. Right, tilting out. Just a few seconds left. Right side. Last. Left side. As the knees come back up, press the thighs together a little bit. Take the legs over towards the right side into a twist. And try and keep those thighs together. Squeezing them a little bit. Inhaling up. So again, we're still trying to keep that 90-degree offering and taking the legs over. Some of us will be able to get the legs flat to the floor. Great. You're still going to press your thighs together. Some of us will be hovering in the air, and you'll still press your thighs together. So it's going to be the same. And then we'll come back into the center. Cross the ankles, draw the knees in towards the chest, bring the chin in a little bit, wrap the arms around, and have a roll on the spine, nice around the back. Now you can roll backwards and forwards on the spine a few times until you can sit up, or you can take the early morning version, which is a side roll, and use your hands to press down into the floor, which feels a lot easier. And we'll take the block again behind, lift up. Take a little seated twist, legs out in front. Just draw the flesh gently on the cheeks. Left leg comes under and outside. Right leg goes across. Left arm lifts and it's a closed twist, so we're moving towards the right. And then we'll release from there. And take it out to the opposite side. Inhale up, rotate round. And release from there as well. I'm going to allow the legs to open out nice and wide. So I'm going to sit a little more onto the front sitting bones. And then take the hands forwards. Take a little breath, put a little bit of bend in the knees, flex the toes up towards the sky, and then just allow ourselves to hinge forward. So you're going to feel the stretch through the hamstrings as you come in. Definitely not going to miss that one. And then if you're able to, we're going to see if we can take the hands out and just take the index finger and middle finger around the big toe of each foot. Now, draw the chest up and forwards from wherever you are. And see if you can start to lightly press your tailbone towards the back of your mat. And at the same time, press out through the heels gently. So you're actually going to feel like you're lifting up out of the pose a fraction. And then we'll release, bring the hands to the floor, walk the fingers back up, and we're going to cross that legs at the shins, so the feet are nice and wide. And then again, just getting some length in the spine as you lean forwards and rolling over. As you exhale, see how low you can come. I'm going to try and keep the spine relatively flat so we don't drop the head. Keep the shoulders out nice and broad. I'm able to get my elbows to the ground, but that's about as far as I can get. Some people can get lower than that. If you are going to take your hands forwards, if that feels good, take the hands wider than the shoulders. So keep them nice and broad. There's a good chance that you won't be down as low as this, depending on the hip shape. Tightness in the muscles as well around the lower leg area, so knees and ankles. Try and still keep that length in the body so it gives you plenty of space to breathe and the diaphragm is free to move. Take a last little breath here. Use the hands to press down and lift back up. And we'll take the first leg out, call that number one. Take the second leg out, call it number two. Bring leg number one in, cross leg number two over the top. So it's going to feel a bit weird. Remember, the feet are still wide apart and they're a long way forward. So that shin bone is pretty much following the line of the front of the mat. Again, we'll bring the hands forwards. No assumptions made on how far we're going to get. You can be very different between one side of the body and the other. Easing yourself in, again, just getting that length in the spine, seeing how it feels. Make sure there's no pinching or painful areas. If there are, you're going to lift out, obviously. Keep the head in line with the rest of the body, shoulders nice and broad and relaxed. Working on letting that chest actually lift forwards and up a little bit. So again, there's this slight sensation of lifting up out of the pose once we get into the depths of it. We'll use the hands again, and the exhale, press away. And untangle the legs. Give them a little shake out. And move into Shavasana. So just taking my trusty block to the back of the mat. Again, knees high, hands behind, chin to the chest. So we can roll the spine gently down to the floor. Keep it nice and safe. And let's spend just a moment with the legs high. Knees come into the center, feet wide. Taking the hands out ready for Shavasana position. And that's going to be here for about 30 seconds or so. And there, and then the legs out to the corner edges. So having moved from some strong forward folds, seated twists, etc. I wanted to give the hip flexors and the pelvis and the lower back a little bit of a chance to rest and restore before we took Shavasana, which if you're going from the forward bends into Shavasana, it can be a bit extreme on the leg muscles and the nervous system, lower back muscles as well. This gives a bit of a chance for a little restore or reset before we move into this pose. The chin's soft, eyes are closed. And breathe. And gently start to stretch those fingers and toes. Let the wrists and ankles roll. Breathe a little deeper before we take the stretch. And then slide the heels along the floor to bring them back in towards the body. Take a final little hug. Inhale, rock out to the right side. Exhale, use the hands to press into the floor to lift. Glide yourself back into that seated posture. And then we're able to bring the hands in towards the heart, taking the breath in. Slowly dropping the chin as we begin to exhale, letting the bow of the body to the floor take place. Feeling our practice. Inhale, rise the spine, lift the head, eyes open. Namaste. Thank you for joining me on this Monday bank holiday. It's going to be a gloriously sunny day. Enjoy your time off if you are. I'll see you on the mat again soon.